Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
Think of it this way. Let's say that you pulled off your best school project ever. I mean, you had it going on. You got 100% on the test. You did the book report just right. You gave a presentation that all the class loved. You turned in your science project and it was chef's kiss. It was amazing. You did all these great things. And instead of feeling super excited, you started feeling really bad. I'm Julie Lyles Carr, and this is God on the Go, part of the Purposely Podcast Network, where we want to help you make the minutes matter. And we've been talking about what is peace? What does it mean to be peaceful? How do we have a place where we can have peace no matter what's going on? Now, that story that I was telling you, to imagine yourself if you had done all kinds of amazing things and then you still felt bad on the other side, that's something that happened to a guy in the Bible. His name was Elijah. He was a prophet, meaning that he was telling people, hey, and reminding people all the time, God wants you to live right. God wants you to be doing things that are honest and good. And the people were really not doing a lot of that. And so Elijah had a moment where he was able to be part of one of the most incredible miracles. It was just amazing. The land had been under a famine and a drought. It had not rained in a long time. People needed water. Things had been really bad. And some of the bad people that Elijah was coming against, they tried to make it rain by doing all kinds of crazy stuff and worshiping idols and all of this. And it was Elijah who was actually able to call on God, show the people that it was God's power, and it started to rain. It was amazing. And you would have thought that he would have walked away from that feeling so incredible, so peaceful, not anxious or upset. But right in the middle of all of that, there were people who were angry that Elijah had been able to do this, that Elijah had pointed the people back to God, and they wanted to come after him. He had some real problems going on. Now, sometimes we can get worried or anxious, the opposite of how it feels to be peaceful, because of things that we worry about maybe happening in the future. How many of the things we worry about don't actually happen? Well, as I look this up, what scientists say is over 90% of the things that we worry about don't ever happen. And for that remaining part, for the things that do happen, a lot of times it's not as bad as we would expect it to be. We spend a lot of time worrying about a lot of stuff that's never going to happen. And that can really chip away at our sense of feeling peaceful. But there are things that are hard. Elijah really did have a big problem coming off of this really amazing moment. So what should he do? Well, unfortunately, he allowed some of those real problems to overshadow what he knew about God, that God is our place of strength, that God gives us peace, that God gives us peace even when there are problems and other situations around us. Because here's the thing, how can we have peace when we have real problems? That's really what I see in Elijah's life that he's trying to figure out. And you know what God did for Elijah? Even with Elijah so worried, even with him running away into the wilderness so that these enemies of his couldn't find him, even with him saying to God, I am just beside myself. I am so upset. I'm so concerned. God took care of him. God sent ravens. Those are a kind of bird to feed him. God just gave him shelter. God helped preserve him and reminded him that Elijah, even in the midst of some really big problems, could also have peace. That's something great for us to remember. Here's the thing. There are going to be some real things that happen that are hard, that are difficult, that are challenges. It doesn't mean God has forgotten about you. You may have a time when someone who you thought was your friend isn't your friend anymore, and they're saying mean things about you, but you can still have peace. It doesn't mean that you don't feel the feeling. That's not a good feeling if your friend isn't your friend anymore. But it doesn't mean that God has forgotten about you. It doesn't mean that God doesn't see what happened with that friend. It does mean that you can turn to God and say, God, I am hurting. This is hard. I don't like this very real problem I'm having. I need your peace. And God can make a way. God can show you that even when the problems are real, the peace can be real too. I want to thank our friends at George Fox University for sponsoring God on the Go. Be sure and check out George Fox University as an option for your student. And I'll see you next time at God on the Go.